Today, what I wanted to do was to see how you may be able to prevent and reverse heart disease, plus gain more energy and lose weight too. Dr. Dean Ornish is here to show us how. He is the #1 expert in the country on this. But first, we heard from women who say they saw that show just in time. I got an email. I could feel that when I was doing the show. I was doing the show and I'm thinking, I know that there are millions of people who are watching and some of those people are going to have a heart attack today. I could feel that. Well, I got an email from a 39-year-old mom, 39 years old in South Carolina, who said she had been ignoring a pain in her arm. Nora Corrick wrote, "Dear Oprah, your show saved my life. When I saw it, I recognized that I had the warning signs. I went to the doctor. He told me I was on the verge of having a heart attack." Another email came from a 40-year-old mom in Florida, 40 years old, who didn't know why she was sweating and anxious. So Janet McCarter wrote that after seeing our show on heart disease, she went to the hospital. She says, "Thank God I did, because the doctor told me I had an abnormal EKG and was a hair away from having a heart attack. Who knows what would have happened had I not seen that show." And this is 31-year-old Lori from New York, 31 years old, who says that show saved her life.
I was having my birthday party for my daughter, and I started feeling this pain right under my left shoulder blade, a kink or a knot, and it didn't get better. And then it started down into my elbow, and I felt this pain in my jaw and up in here in my throat. And it was very painful. It was like gripping, like it was in your bone. Then I just got the palpitations, this racing of my heart. It felt like I got off a tread machine. At age 31, I mean, you're not thinking heart attack. I'm thinking, well, I went to my local YMCA. I probably pulled a muscle.
Heart disease is killing women.
So I was watching the show, and there was a girl who was in her early 30s, and she had the same exact symptoms as I had.
The pain started radiating down my arm.
I knew immediately. My blood just ran cold. We left for the emergency room directly after the show was over. When we got to the emergency room, they pretty much treated it as if, oh, it's someone who's pulled a muscle. And I said, look, I saw the Oprah Winfrey show today, and I want my heart tested. Simple as that. I have 3 kids at home. I want to get back to them. I got the EKG, and the cardiologist decided that definitely I'd had a heart attack. I had a 40 to 50% chance of dying. I definitely felt like the show saved my life. I had to vow that I would never smoke again. I had to vow that I would eat the right things. Before my heart attack, I would have guessed I was pretty healthy. We were going to the gym 2 to 3 times a week. Before my heart attack, I was smoking about 1.5 packs a day. For breakfast, I usually had a couple cups of coffee, and I was out the door for the day, no time to eat. Looking back on our diet, it was scary. We were eating a lot of high-fat, high-cholesterol foods that just simply aren't good for you. On the average week, we got takeout probably 3 times a week. We ordered pizza and chicken wings. We had hot dogs. And I'm a terrible sweet fanatic, and I love cake and donuts. It's a new beginning. It's a new beginning for myself and for my family. We're gonna get on a regimen to eat better, and then the rest of life we can just enjoy.
So today we're going to show Lori and millions of you who are concerned about how to make your heart healthier. For over 20 years, Dr. Dean Ornish has been making headlines as the first doctor to prove now that heart disease can really be reversed by changing your lifestyle. He is the author of 5 best-selling books, including Reversing Heart Disease, Eat More, Weigh Less, and Love and Survival. Dr. Ornish says that millions of people have made their hearts healthier on his plan, and his chefs even gave the White House and Air Force One a menu makeover because they were eating too many hot dogs on there, weren't they? Dr. Ornish says that for many people, avoiding heart disease, avoiding it, is as simple as making 2 or 3 changes. And so we're going to talk today about if you already have it, how to reverse it.
Right.
And you have proven that you can reverse it.
That's right.
Not through medication, but through diet. And also if you want to prevent it and you don't already have it. Dr. Ornish says his eating plan is easy to customize depending on if you want to prevent heart disease or if you already have it and you want to reverse it. So if you already have it, if you had a heart attack, it means you have it?
If you have a heart attack, it means you already have it. And as you know, heart and blood vessel diseases kill more men and women than virtually everything else combined. And yet, if we simply put into practice what we already know, we don't need to wait for a new breakthrough. Heart disease could be as rare as malaria. You know, we think it has to be a new drug or a new laser or something really high-tech and expensive. And people have a hard time believing that these simple choices that we make each day, like what we eat, how we respond to stress, how much exercise we get, whether or not we smoke, the quality of the amount of love and social relationships.
And if you smoke, I read that if you smoke and take birth control pills, that you quadruple your chances.
That's right.
Yeah.
And yet, if you quit smoking, within a few years, your risk is as low as if you never smoked at all.
Really?
So a lot of this damage, your body has a remarkable capacity to begin healing itself if you give it a break.
Because your body is trying to work with you, isn't it? It's trying to help you out every day. It's just working on cleaning out the toxins. It's saying, would you work with me, please?
Yeah.
Right.
If 3 times a day you're eating more fat and cholesterol than your body can get rid of, it's got to go somewhere.
Right.
So the premise of all the things that we're talking about today is really to treat the cause.
Dr. Ornish says that you need to know your cholesterol levels to determine which plan to follow.
Correct. You know, the old saying about an ounce of prevention is really true. It takes less work to prevent disease than to reverse it.
Right.
So what you can do is, if you don't have heart disease, you can begin by making moderate changes. It's not all or nothing. People often think that the diet I recommend is, you know, really strict and it's either you're on it or you're off it, and that's completely the opposite of what I like. It's a spectrum. So if you're eating 12 cheeseburgers a day, go to 9 cheeseburgers a day. If that's enough to get your cholesterol down, that may be all you need to do, because there is a genetic variability in how efficiently some people can get rid of the fat and cholesterol in their diet.
Okay, what if you're not eating any cheeseburgers at all, but you still have high cholesterol?
Well, then you might want to cut back even further. The goal is to get your total cholesterol below 150, or what's called the LDL, the bad cholesterol, below, say, 90 or 95. And if your levels are already that low, whatever you're doing is probably fine, at least as far as your heart's concerned. If they're above that, just begin to progressively cut back on the amount of fat and cholesterol. So
that's one of the things we should know. What is our cholesterol? Just like you should know your blood type.
That's right.
Right.
You should definitely know your cholesterol. And it's a simple test. It costs a few dollars. Everybody should know that.
Okay. Now, Dr. Ornish's plan is a low-fat, high-fiber diet that puts food into 3 different categories: foods to choose most often, foods to eat in moderation, and foods to choose least often. Dr. Ornish says that foods to choose most often are the fruits and the vegetables.
Yeah, but you know why? You know, it sounds so boring, you know.
Fruits and the vegetables.
Am I gonna live longer, or is it just gonna seem longer, you know, if I eat this way? But part of what
I've done a new thing now, because I know when I was having my heart palpitations, Dr. Ornish, because he is like the #1 guy in the country, so I think I'm Oprah Winfrey, I can call him. So I did. And he actually returned my calls.
Shocking, isn't it?
Shocking. And he's a guy that told me, you do not have heart disease. You do not have heart disease. But anyway, since talking to you, I used to have like a platter of grapes on the kitchen counter, you know, for decorations. But then I would walk by and take a bunch and all the sugar. So now I put tangerines there.
Ah.
So it's an easier thing, and just take a couple bites of the tangerine. So I'm eating more fruits because of you.
Good.
Okay. You also say beans.
Right.
And certain whole grains and cereals.
Well, when you go from eating a high-fat, high-animal protein diet to a low-fat, fruits, vegetables, grains, beans, things like that, you're really getting a double benefit, because you're reducing your...
But beans, they bloat you.
Well,
you get that kind of bloated bean feeling. I call them beanie babies inside.
This too shall pass.
This too shall pass. That is very good, because when you're running on the track, you go, oh, there goes another baby.
It doesn't do much for your social support, but but the fact is, you have little microorganisms in your intestines, and as you switch your diet, they change, and during that transition period, you have a lot more bloating. But once you get on it for a few months, then it gets back to normal.
You don't bloat?
No, you don't bloat. Not once you're on it for a few months. It takes time for your gut to adjust to it. Okay.
Got it. Okay. Whole wheat pasta.
Right.
Brown rice. Oh, so you're eliminating the white stuff too.
When you go from a typical American diet, you know, it's high in meat and animal protein and fat, to a low-fat, whole foods, plant-based diet, fruits, vegetables, grains, and beans, what we've been talking about, you get a double benefit. You're not only reducing your intake of the disease-promoting substances like cholesterol, saturated fat, oxidants.
Fat.
But you're also getting at least 1,000 other substances that are protective, that have anti-cancer, anti-heart disease, even anti-aging properties.
So brown stuff, and potatoes. Potatoes are white stuff. You say potatoes are okay?
If you eat it with the other things, because when you eat a lot of simple sugars, like sugar, white flour, white rice, pasta made out of white flour, you're getting a double whammy. You're getting all these calories that don't fill you up because you've removed the fiber and the bran that ordinarily fill you up, and they get absorbed quickly, so your blood sugar zooms up. Your pancreas makes insulin to bring your blood sugar back down, which is good, but the insulin accelerates the conversion of calories into fat.
We're living in a country now where people are afraid of carbohydrates.
Well, that's the thing, is people think you should go from simple carbohydrates to pork rinds, on the high protein diets, which is crazy, because then you're getting...
But you lose weight on those high protein diets.
You lose weight because people eat so many simple carbohydrates. There is some advantage. That's what makes them so dangerous, is because they're seductive. People lose weight, but then you mortgage your health. I mean, you can lose weight on chemotherapy, but that doesn't mean it's a very good way to do it. If you go from simple carbohydrates to whole foods, the ones you mentioned...
Well, now, what's a simple carbohydrate?
Sugar, white flour, white rice.
Those are the white things.
The white things. If you stop eating those, and instead of going to, pork rinds and so on, and bacon and sausage, you go from the white things to...
Brown things.
Brown things. Whole wheat flour, brown rice, and then fruits, vegetables, grains, beans, in their natural forms. They're loaded in fiber, so they fill you up before you get too many calories. And they slow the absorption of the food, so you don't get that rapid rise in blood sugar that causes the insulin response.
I was going to say, they do something for insulin.
That's right. So you get the benefits that you get on a high-protein diet, but instead of mortgaging your health, you actually enhance your health.
Okay. Dr. Ornish's plan also allows you to eat plenty of non-fat yogurt and cheeses, skim milk, and egg white. So the basic thing to remember is eliminate the white stuff.
The white stuff and the animal stuff. To the degree you can move in that direction, there's a benefit.
Okay. Eliminate the white stuff and the animal stuff.
Like the meats, the pork rinds, the bacon. If you're going to eat animal stuff, go from meats to chicken to fish to
Yeah, because I told you I
vegetarian.
could not give up the bird.
You don't have to give up the bird because you don't have heart disease.
Yeah, okay. But if you had heart disease, you'd have to give up the bird.
The reason is, yes, because people who have heart disease in general are not very efficient at getting rid of the fat and cholesterol in their diet. And so even that moderate amount is more than their body can handle. And so if you're eating more than your body can get rid of, it keeps building up in your arteries.
Okay.
The good news is that even if you're on the unlucky end of the spectrum, the inefficient end of the spectrum, in other words, you're not very good at getting rid of the fat and cholesterol that you eat, if you reduce your intake enough, which is what we found in our research, you can actually, in most cases, reverse it.
You say you've seen results in 7 days.
We found that your blood flow to your brain improves in just a week or two.
Really?
You think more clearly, you have more energy.
So you could remember where you put your keys.
That's right.
We're talking with Dr. Dean Ornish about what to feed your heart to reverse or prevent heart disease. There are two different plans. The #1 killer of women, we just heard how 31-year-old Lori was shocked when her back pain turned out to be a heart attack. And now she wants to know how she can reverse her heart disease. So we sent one of Dr. Ornish's registered dietitians, because you have a whole clinic, don't you?
We do. It's a nonprofit research institute.
Okay. So he has dietitians, and so they went to her house to help her get started.
I've really begun to enjoy yogurt. I can have it for a snack. I can bring it to work.
This particular yogurt does have quite a bit of sugar to it. It has 42 grams of sugar, which is about the same amount that you would find in a can of soda.
Okay.
Sugar can increase your triglycerides, which can cause problems for your heart.
Okay.
An alternative might be choosing the non-fat plain yogurts and adding your own fruit to it.
Well, another thing I really enjoy, I like to sit and snack on olives. I don't know if that's good for me or not, but I really do like them.
Olives do contain a lot of saturated fat. Even though we think of olives and olive oil as being healthier alternatives, they do still contain a saturated fat, which will increase your own blood levels of the bad cholesterol. An alternative for you might be using capers, especially in cooking. Capers can give that same zingy flavor that olives can provide.
Sometimes I grab one of these frozen dinners for lunch. I don't know though, the labels can be really confusing.
Look for both the total fat and looking down at also the saturated fats. There's only 1 gram of saturated fat, which is a good choice. On this one, it does have a little bit of hydrogenated soybean oil, and hydrogenated means that it could contain some trans fatty acids, which are just as bad as saturated fat in increasing your total level of cholesterol in your blood.
One of the things I've really always enjoyed is bagels. I don't know, I'm hoping they're still good for me because I don't want to give them up.
Well, these bagels are a refined carbohydrate. They're made from white flour, and they essentially have very little fiber in them. So I would recommend the whole wheat bagel if possible. Cut back on your portion size.
Okay.
They're also so incredibly dense that a bagel is equivalent to almost 3 to 4 slices of bread. The refined carbohydrate can increase your insulin levels, which again indirectly can cause problems for your heart. So it's really important to avoid white bread, white rice, white pasta. There are many whole grain alternatives to that.
Okay.
You're looking for at least 3 grams of fiber. 5 is optimal. The fiber that you find in breads and grains is really important for your heart.
I love fresh fruit, and I love almost every vegetable out there.
I recommend blueberries and other berries for their antioxidant activities, which can prevent scarring in the arteries.
If I follow all these regimens and if I eat the right foods, what are my chances of reversing the effects of my heart disease?
The more changes that you make towards a lower fat diet, more of a plant-based diet, we can actually reverse your heart disease, which is really good news.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Do you feel good about it? Do you feel motivated?
Wonderful.
You do?
It's been wonderful.
Yeah.
I
Because
enjoy all the foods. It's a real good life change.
really.
Real happy.
And having had a heart attack is a big motivation.
Definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
Were you surprised that this could happen to your wife?
Very surprised. I knew something, and you were talking about that instinct feeling.
Yeah.
I knew something was wrong, so we took the day off, and she saw your promo for your show, and that did it. If she would have gone to the hospital that Sunday, she wouldn't have forced the doctor to do a test.
That's right.
And
It's
they
just
wanted
like,
to tell her that she's too young, her heart's
yeah.
fine.
just like the woman on the show. They say,
Yeah.
oh, no, you have to keep pushing, because one of the things I have learned, you have to be your own advocate.
Definitely.
Because people will just tell you it's a pull muscle and stress and send you on home.
That's right. I looked at the tech and I said, I'm sorry, I know you said that you don't think it's my heart, but I insist I need an EKG because I have 3 small children at home and I want to be there for them, you know. They're too young.
Wow.
So they did the test.
Well, Dr. Ornish says that a single meal high in fat, Laura, you'll be interested to hear this, can cause your arteries to constrict and spasm. So, oh, wow.
That doesn't mean you should never eat a single meal. If you have heart disease, though, you'd be better off not doing that because it makes your arteries constrict, it makes your blood clot faster. So does used to be a smoker, so does the nicotine in cigarettes.
I
So
went
does
to my
stress.
mother's house one time. I had dinner at my mother's house. Soul food dinner. I know we were talking about Soul Food Sunday. There was so much fat at that dinner. Like they had so much fat. Macaroni and cheese, fried catfish, fried chicken, fried pies, that a big lump just came on my head. My body just said, enough already with the fried foods, really. So I'm telling you, like some people's Sunday dinners can constrict their whole body, not just a few arteries. Dr. Ornish tells us why hydrogenated fats can be more damaging to your heart.
Yeah, they increase the shelf life of food, which is why manufacturers use them, but they decrease your shelf life. That's the problem. Because they get converted into cholesterol and they build up plaque in your arteries.
If a thing says low in cholesterol, because as you said, it's so confusing. If it says low in cholesterol, what does that mean?
It means that it's low in cholesterol, but it could still be high in fat. So like, for example, a bottle of oil is 100% fat. It's liquid fat, but it has no cholesterol. So so they try to fool you. You know, they try to say, and some of the foods may be fat-free, but then they have tons of sugar in them. So
Right. And how does sugar affect your heart?
Sugar gets absorbed quickly. It causes your body to make insulin. And the insulin lowers your blood sugar, but it causes you to gain weight because it converts calories into triglycerides, which is both how your body stores fat and what clogs up your arteries.
Which is also why if you are a diabetic, your chances of heart disease are increased.
Greatly increased. And did you know that diabetes in 30-year-olds has gone up 70% in the last 10 years? 70%. So this is a real cultural time bomb that we're dealing with now because of the way our eating habits have been changing.
Wow. Lori says she uses margarine or olive oil instead of butter. What is the healthiest choice?
Well, margarine's better for you than butter, but it's better even to avoid margarine because margarine is really high in fat too. Now, some of the newer margarines have what are called plant sterols that can lower your cholesterol. They cost more, but if you really want to eat margarine, try to get those.
Isn't olive oil okay?
If you're trying to prevent disease, it's fine. But if you're trying to reverse disease, it's not. Because, first of all, if you're trying to lose weight,
right.
I can't tell you how many people say, oh, the olive oil is good for me. They pour it on their food, they dip their bread in it, they pour it on their salad dressing. 1 tablespoon of any oil, including olive oil, as you know, has 14 grams of fat.
Right.
1 scoop of premium ice cream has about 14, 16, 17 grams of fat. So you put 2 tablespoons of olive oil on your salad, let's say, it's like putting 2 scoops of ice cream on there from a weight standpoint. People, gain a lot of weight. The simplest way to lose weight is to reduce the amount of oil in your diet, okay? Now, olive oil has lower saturated fat than ice cream, but it still is about 14% saturated fat.
So olive oil is good if you're trying to prevent, not if you're trying to reverse.
Exactly.
Okay. And they're 2 separate plans.
Correct.
As I said before. There's a whole book that you have on reversing heart disease.
That's right.
But I don't need that because I don't have it.
That's right. Thank goodness.
Thank goodness. We heard the dietitian mention blueberries. Dr. Ornish says that blueberries, bananas, garlic, and tomatoes are especially good for your heart.
There are a lot of foods like that are called functional foods. It's not just what you exclude in your diet, it's what you include that have protective effects. And blueberries, for example, can help prevent heart disease. They have antioxidants, can help prevent cancer. They can actually increase memory in some recent studies. Bananas are high in potassium, which can stabilize the rhythm of your heart. One of the best things that people can do is take 3 grams a day of fish oil. Fish oil comes, I know that doesn't sound very appealing, but fish oil comes in 1 gram capsules in many pharmacies and health food stores. 3 grams a day can reduce sudden cardiac death by 50 to 80%. So if people don't remember anything else from this show, tell them to start taking 3 grams a day of fish oil. It can
I think you're telling them right now.
Thank you. Because it can also reduce your incidence of breast cancer in women, prostate cancer in men, arthritis, and lower your triglycerides. A lot of good stuff from that.
I know, I thank you. You sent me a year's supply. We're talking to Dr. Dean Ornish about his groundbreaking program for treating heart disease, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. This is Sharon, a 38-year-old working mother of 4 who recently learned that her blood pressure was so high she needed medication. Her busy lifestyle is taking a toll on her heart.
I'm 38 years old. I'm a full-time mom, a full-time wife, and a full-time social worker. People look at my age and assume that there can't be anything wrong with my heart. I was recently diagnosed with high blood pressure. I'm concerned about that because I know that's one of the contributing factors to heart disease. I'm worried about having a heart attack. I get palpitations every day, several times a day. I'm on medication to control it, but it's really not controlling it. I feel shortness of breath every day. I can climb 1 flight of stairs and have to gasp for air. Usually, I just feel like I have no energy. What's stressful in my life, being a wife and a mother, I guess, is the fact that I have to do everything. That's how I feel. I have to get up, get my kids ready to go to school, go to work, come home, prepare dinner, help with homework, spend some time with my husband, and then that's it. That's my day. And I think that's stressful. I feel overwhelmed by my life. I think I'm a people pleaser, and that alone is stressful. I do find it difficult to take time out for myself and to relax. My biggest fear is that I will have a heart attack and die and won't be around to see my children grow old or grow up. Usually, I don't eat breakfast. And if I'm out in the field or visiting clients, the easiest thing for me to do is just to zip into a fast food restaurant and get something to eat and eat on the go. I'm an expert at eating a hamburger and driving at the same time. I want to learn how to eat healthier. And, I just don't have the energy, and I feel like I don't want to stay in the kitchen for 3 hours to prepare a meal.
So Sharon says her husband and children are picky eaters. They don't want to give up their favorite dishes. So we sent Dr. Ornish's gourmet chef, Dennis Malone, to show Sharon how to prepare heart-healthy meals that the whole family will love, or at least start to love. Make them love it.
Sharon, I heard one of your family's favorite meals is fettuccine Alfredo.
Yes, we love fettuccine Alfredo.
Ooh, I do too. I'm gonna teach you how to do that heart-healthy style.
Great.
Let's start the sauce over here.
Okay. I usually just purchase a jar of Alfredo sauce and the pasta and mix it together.
And what do you serve it with?
Garlic bread and green salad.
Let's take a look at some of the ingredients that you use when you make this meal.
Okay.
Well, here's the salad dressing. 14 grams per serving. That's a lot of fat. Garlic bread, 9 grams of fat for 1 slice.
I think that's awful.
So let's see if we can't cook this same meal in a way that's much healthier for your heart.
Great.
Now we're gonna make the base of the Alfredo sauce. And we're gonna use white cannelli beans, and soy milk. And these are ingredients that are healthy.
Oh.
So the first and main ingredient is a cannoli bean. It's like the Great Northern or the white bean, and we use this bean because it has a whole lot of flavor. So we're gonna put them in the blender first. We're not gonna use regular cow's milk with a lot of fat and cholesterol. We're gonna use soy milk, which is very healthy for the heart. The base is made, the fettuccine is boiling on the stove, so now we're gonna add to the cream sauce the ingredients that really give the Alfredo sauce its characteristic flavor and punch. Some roasted garlic, now a little bit of salt, some fresh ground pepper, and my favorite, some fresh ground nutmeg.
That looks really pretty.
Sharon, now we're gonna add some additional ingredients that add both flavor and color.
My family doesn't like broccoli.
I've discovered that kids really like broccoli if they like the sauce that it's in. It might be a good way to get some broccoli into your kids. Now we're gonna do a twist on the tossed salad. This is what I call a composition salad. We're gonna start by mixing the red romaine. Actually, we'll use most of this. And then some nice, beautiful baby arugula. And then some organic mixed field greens. Sharon, if you wouldn't mind making the salad dressing, it's really easy.
Oh, I would love to.
All you have to do is pour a little bit of this non-fat salad dressing in the bowl. I'll add a little extra vinegar. This is white balsamic vinegar. This balsamic adds a little natural sweetness. Most dressings have a lot of oil. This one doesn't have any. Much better for your heart. Now we're gonna make a spread for garlic bread. No fat, no oil, bursting with flavor, and good for your heart. This is white miso. It's a paste made from soybeans. And what we're gonna do is mix a little bit of this paste with some warm water. And then we're gonna add the roasted garlic. We've made a heart-healthy dinner together. Now let's see what your family thinks.
Well, this is good.
You might try the bread?
Good. I like the pasta.
I do love the salad. It's good. I mean, everything just kind of explodes out at you. Just you can taste so many different flavors here.
And you know what?
Well,
It's no fat in it.
no fat, low fat, a lot of fat is good.
Broccoli idea.
It tastes like Alfredo sauce. You couldn't tell that it was made from white beans, soy milk,
White beans.
white beans.
I guess for me, if she served it and I didn't know what was in it, I could possibly eat it all day long.
So it was okay.
Yes, it was.
It was delicious.
And how did you feel about it?
I felt great. It felt good preparing something for my family that I know was healthy, didn't have any fat in it. And it made me feel good to see that they enjoyed it.
Well, you know, I could do an entire show on just black folks in America and heart disease because
Should do one, because it's 70% higher in African Americans.
70% higher. And in blood pressure too, right?
Blood pressure, prostate cancer in men, breast cancer in women, all the way down the line.
So will you all do that more than just that one time now?
Definitely.
Yes.
Definitely.
Definitely.
Really? Because you can reduce your blood pressure by change of lifestyle, reduction in salt. I had high blood pressure over the summer, like it was like 180 over 98. And I've lowered it to, like yesterday, it was 110 over 64.
Right, without medication.
Without medication. But you got to be willing to work with it. It's, you know, change in diet, eliminated the salt, and working out.
Right.
I was saying, black folks, our disease rate is much higher for heart disease, blood pressure, diabetes, but we have good melanin in our skin and we don't age as quickly.
That's right. Although actually, you know...
No, this is the thing. We may be sick, but we don't look old. Okay, if you're a woman who's often angry, depressed, or lonely, Dr. Ornish says it can take a dangerous, dangerous toll on your heart. This is Karen, who at age 33 had triple bypass heart surgery and wants to know if holding in her anger is affecting her heart.
Dear Oprah, I never expected to have heart disease at 33. I had triple bypass surgery. The doctor told me that my left artery was 100% blocked and that I had suffered from a heart attack and I didn't even know it. I'd like to know more about the relation of stress and emotion to my heart condition. I hold anger in until I explode. This is true for every emotion. In my family, we just didn't talk about our feelings. I think I might be depressed. Could that be affecting my heart? Also, my stress level is very high. I think all this is making it hard for me to stay motivated to eat right. I still crave my favorite foods like steaks, French fries, and pizza. What can I do to make my heart healthier? Sincerely, Karen Zillman.
Karen, thank you for that letter. Dr. Ornish says that toxic emotions can constrict the arteries and cause blockages. I mean, several years ago, 1998, I think you're on the cover of Newsweek with the title, Can This Doctor Save Your Heart? And it was about diet and meditation and how love affects your heart also.
Yeah, that's actually, I think, as big a factor as diet, because people who are lonely and depressed and isolated are about 5 to 7 times more likely to die, not only from heart disease, but all causes when compared to those.
Withholding anger.
That's right. Holding anger in is particularly toxic. Now, it affects your behavior. You're more likely to smoke, to overeat, to drink too much, to work too hard, to abuse drugs, et cetera, when you're lonely and depressed. I had a woman who said, I've got 20 friends in this package of cigarettes, and they're always there for me, and nobody else is. You're going to take away my 20 friends, what are you going to give me? Or they eat when they're depressed, or they work too hard, or they use alcohol or other drugs to numb the pain. You know, as Dr. Mehmet Oz said when he was on your show, the heart is more than just a pump. It's the symbol through art and literature and poetry. I mean, even the word courage means the heart speaking.
Right.
And so it's not just, science is beginning to catch up with that. When you're depressed, you're not only more likely to do things that cause heart disease, but through mechanisms we don't fully understand, it's much more likely that you're going to get sick and die prematurely when you change.
So you say to her?
I say to her, these are things that you can do something about. You can, by practicing meditation or any kind of spiritual practice on a daily basis.
You say just 1 minute a day of meditation, because people think you got to go. A woman said to me on the show one time, because I've been talking about meditation for years, she said, I went in the closet, I sat there for 20 minutes, nothing happened.
But if you do it for a minute, it has benefits throughout the day.
So the bottom line, there is a mind, body, spirit connection. And if your spirit is not at ease, is disease, then that brings disease into your body. That's the bottom line.
And you can do something about it.
Well, in the United States, African-American women are at a 70%, 70% greater risk of dying from heart disease than white women. Did y'all hear that? Black folks, tell everybody you know. That was more than a statistic to Alice Petrell, who came close to dying from heart complications 6 different times. Doctors said she wouldn't survive another cardiac crisis. Alice has started to reverse her heart disease without giving up soul food Sunday dinners.
I learned soul food cooking from my mother, who learned it from her grandmother, and I passed it on to my daughter. I would be cooking for 3 days. I would have the ham, the ribs, the fried chicken, the macaroni and cheese, and I would have the greens with as much fat in it as I could possibly get it, and everybody loved it. Heart disease has devastated my family. My mother, my grandmother, my sister, all my aunts and uncles all died from heart disease. Since 1984, I have had 3 heart attacks. I've undergone 2 heart surgeries, 1 triple bypass and 1 quadruple bypass. I suffer from fatigue, and I was undergoing treatment for a kidney failure. I had to make some life changes or I'd die. Less than a year ago, I gave up all meat, fish, chicken. I gave up white pasta, white rice, and I eat very little fat. In just 12 weeks, I lost 17 pounds. My cholesterol used to be close to 300, is now running around 231. I'm almost normal. I have loads of energy, the fatigue is nowhere, heartburn is gone, the cramps in my legs are gone. I now practice yoga, and it's put me in a much better state of mind. I worry a whole lot less, and I'm a lot more relaxed. I walk 1.5 to 2 miles every single day. It exhilarates me. The secret to cooking low fat is seasoning and flavors. That's what makes all the difference. I can still eat some of my favorite soul food. Macaroni and cheese, for example, I use evaporated fat-free skim milk. I use ricotta cheese, fat-free, and vegetable cheese. For my potato salad, the secret is to boil the eggs, scoop out the egg yolk, and just use the egg whites. I use fat-free mayonnaise, and it still tastes the same. Perfect. I used to put a lot of fat in my collard greens, but now I use green peppers, red peppers, onions, garlic, and smoked flavoring. Soy burgers.
All right.
I'm now experimenting with herbs that I've never used before. Cilantro, bay leaves.
This looks great.
I think the food is excellent. To be honest with you, I really am surprised. My grandmother's a great cook.
I'm a meat eater and lover, and I'm fooled.
What this new lifestyle change has done for me is given me hope. I want to live to be 100 so I can see my great-grandchildren get married and have their own family. I have a new lease on life now.
Thank you, Alice Petrell. The one thing we need to take away today
is that women can reverse heart disease even easier than men can. And not only that, when you change your diet and lifestyle, you're not only reducing your risk of heart disease, but breast cancer in women, prostate cancer, colon cancer, diabetes, hypertension, you lose weight. So the same kind of approach can really help across the board instead of, say, being put on estrogen to lower your risk of heart disease and increase your risk of breast cancer. When you treat the cause, you don't have to make these painful choices. The choices that you make in your life have a much more powerful determinant in your well-being and even your survival than anything that I or any doctor can provide for you.
Okay, what about the people who say, well, my mother is 80 years old and she grew up and she ate blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, well, all the people who were eating all that fat and cholesterol never made it to 80 if they weren't very efficient at getting rid of the fat and cholesterol in their diet. It's a selected group. So there is a spectrum. You can find where you are on the spectrum by looking at your cholesterol. If you can get it down to below 150, whatever you're doing is probably fine. If not, it doesn't mean that you have to go on drugs the rest of your life. If you're not willing to change, you should consider that. But for many people, for most people, if they're willing to make bigger changes in diet and lifestyle, they can usually reduce or even get off these medications and often avoid the bypasses or angioplasties that they otherwise would have had.
Okay, we want to remind you always to consult your own doctor for medical advice and treatment before starting any program. But if you're feeling any kind of, pains that we have described here and you go to your doctor, you must insist upon getting an EKG or an echocardiogram or stress tested. You must insist upon it because, as you've heard from many people who've been on this show, that when you first walk in, particularly if you're a woman, because if you've been a guy walking in saying the same thing, I'm sure would have been treated differently. Sure. Thank you, Dr. Dean Ornish. His books are Reversing Heart Disease, which you need to get if you have heart disease. Eat More, Weigh Less, and Love and Survival are excellent if you're just trying to prevent heart disease.